My name is Serafina Vale. I'm 26 years old. And on my first wedding anniversary, my father-in-law called me worthless in front of 600 people. My husband stood right there and said nothing. When I finally spoke back, he slapped me across the face. Then I made one phone call, and everything they thought they knew about me collapsed in real time. I met Salem 2 years ago at work. Nothing dramatic about it. I was new, quiet, still figuring out where the coffee machine was. He was the opposite. Confident, easy to talk to, the kind of person who makes a room feel lighter just by being in it. He came up to my desk one afternoon and asked something small. I don't even remember what, but I remember that he actually waited for my answer, like he was genuinely interested. We started talking after that, slowly at first, then more. Lunch breaks, at late evenings finishing up work. The kind of time that doesn't feel like time when you're with the right person. With him, I felt normal, easy, seen. That's why I made a decision I would spend the next 2 years second-guessing. One evening, he asked about my family. I paused. Then I said, I don't really have anyone. My parents are gone. I've been on my own for a long time. It wasn't true, but I needed to know something. I needed to know if he would choose me. Just me. Not my last name. Not what came with it. Not the doors that opened when people found out who my father was. He didn't question it. His eyes just softened and he moved closer. And I thought, okay, this is real. When he proposed 8 months later, I said yes immediately. His family was a different story from day one. They had plans for Salem. The kind of plans that involve spreadsheets and bloodlines and the right last name. I didn't fit any of it. No background they recognized. No connections they could use. No family name that meant anything to them. At first it was subtle. Cold shoulders, comments wrapped in smiles. Simple girl, simple life. You didn't bring much into this, did you? I let it go, told myself time would fix it, that once they saw who I was, it would change. It didn't change, it got worse. His father stopped pretending entirely. He said it directly, plainly, without lowering his voice. You ruined my son's future. You brought nothing into this house. You are useless. And Salem? He went quiet. At first I gave him the benefit of the doubt. He didn't want conflict. He was caught in the middle. I understood that. But then one night, and after a particularly bad dinner, he shrugged and said, maybe they have a point. That sentence did something to me I can't fully describe. Like a small but load-bearing part of something snapped quietly, and I pretended not to hear it. I stayed. Because I loved him. Because I kept believing the man I fell in love with was still there. When Salem told me about the anniversary party, something in me genuinely hoped. 600 guests. A real celebration. He seemed excited. His parents were warm to me during the planning, including me in conversations, smiling like they meant it. I knew something felt slightly off. That quiet voice in the back of your chest that you ignore because you want to be wrong about it. I ignored it. Standing in that hall on the night of the party, watching the lights, hearing the music, seeing Salem laugh easily across the room. I let myself believe it. Maybe this was the turn. Maybe this was the night things actually changed. Then his father stood up. He picked up a glass near the front of the room. The music faded, conversations dropped off. 600 people turned toward him. 1 year of this marriage, he said, smiling slowly. What a perfect night to speak some truth. I felt it immediately. That specific dread that arrives before something bad and confirms what you already knew. My son, he said, his voice carrying easily across the room, made the biggest mistake of his life. Murmurs spread. I looked at Salem. He was watching his father, not shocked, waiting. That detail hit me harder than anything that came after it. And that mistake... His father's eyes found mine and stayed there. Hut is standing right here. I heard it ripple through the crowd, saw heads turn, felt the shift in the room the way you feel a temperature change. She has no family, no background, no value, and my son wasted his future on her. Ugh. 600 people. Some looked uncomfortable, some looked curious. Some were already leaning toward whoever was next to them to whisper. I had spent a year absorbing these words in private, in hallways, in kitchens, behind closed doors. Not tonight. That's enough! My voice came out steadier than I expected. One step forward. You don't have the right to speak to me like that! The room went still. Then Salem moved. I need to be honest about what I saw in his face in that half second before it happened. It wasn't rage. It wasn't even conviction. It was something closer to a decision being made. And the kind you make when you've already chosen a side and you're just waiting for the moment to show it. His hand connected with my face. The sound was sharp. My head turned. The room tilted. When I straightened up, he was standing there with his hand still slightly raised, jaw tight, performing for an audience he'd invited specifically for this. Don't disrespect my father, he said. I looked at him for a long moment. This person I had protected a secret for. This person I had stayed for. I'm done, he continued, voice rising now. I deserve better than this. And there it was, the word his family had been applying to me for a year, now coming from him in front of everyone. I understood then, all of it. The warmth during the planning, the invitation list, the careful timing of his father's speech. This wasn't a party. It was a staged exit. Laughter moved through parts of the crowd. Whispers everywhere. My face was burning. My ear was still ringing. But I didn't cry. Not there. I picked up my phone. My hands were steady. I dialed. It rang twice. Dad. A pause, then his voice, calm and familiar. What happened? I looked around the room one more time. Please come. I'm on my way. I lowered the phone. My father-in-law was already performing for the people nearest to him, shaking his head, playing the reasonable man who tried his best. Who is she even calling? He said loudly enough for the room. She said she had no body. I said nothing. I stood exactly where I was and waited. About 15 minutes passed. The room had mostly returned to noise. Music came back on. People refilled their glasses. The way crowds do when the uncomfortable thing is over, and everyone agrees without saying so to move on. I didn't move. Then the main doors opened. It wasn't dramatic in the Hollywood sense. No security team, no grand entrance. Just a man walking in who moved like someone who didn't need the room's permission to be in it. My father is not a loud man. He never has been. He built what he built through 30 years of showing up, following through, and saying exactly what he means in as few words as possible. He walked in, found me across the room in about 4 seconds, and came straight toward me. No detours, no acknowledgement of the 600 people watching him. When he reached me, he stopped, looked at my face. His eyes moved to my cheek, stayed there, his jaw tightened slightly. That was all. But I've known him my whole life, and I knew what that meant. Dad, I said quietly. Salem was already pale. I watched him try to place the face. The moment it clicked, I saw it happen. That's... He stopped, swallowed. That's the owner of Ardent Ware. His voice was barely audible. The company I work for. A current moved through the room. My father-in-law stepped forward with the practiced confidence of a man used to controlling situations. Sir, I'm not sure what's happening here, but... She called you Dad, Salem said, cutting him off. His voice cracked slightly. Why did she call you Dad? My father looked at him. Because she's my daughter. The room didn't explode. It went very, very quiet first. The kind of quiet where you can hear people processing. My father turned back to me. His eyes moved across my face again and came back to my cheek. Who did this? He asked. Low, controlled. The kind of voice that doesn't need to be loud to be completely clear. Nobody answered. My father-in-law opened his mouth. Don't! My father didn't even look at him when he said it. Just one word. He closed it. My father looked at Salem. She kept this from you, he said, because she wanted you to see her. Not her name, not her money, just her. A pause. I told her it was a mistake. I told her you'd show her who you were eventually. Salem's eyes were wet now. I didn't know, he said. I swear I didn't. I know you didn't know, my father said simply. That's not the point. He let that sit for a moment. Tomorrow, he said, I'd like your resignation. HR will be in touch. He glanced at my father-in-law briefly. Addie, and we'll be filing a formal complaint regarding tonight. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't making a speech. He was just stating facts in the way that people do when they've already decided, and they're simply informing you of the outcome. Salem stepped forward. Please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean... I raised my hand. He stopped. I looked at him for the last time. Really looked. Past the panic and the performance and the person I'd spent 2 years trying to see the best in. You showed me exactly who you are, I said. That's actually the most honest thing you've done in a year. I picked up my bag. My father fell into step beside me without a word. Just before we reached the door, I stopped. Didn't turn around. You didn't lose me tonight, I said. You lost the only person who ever chose you for exactly who you were. I walked out. The resignation was done by morning. The divorce was quiet. No court drama, just paperwork and the specific relief of something finally being finished. Salem lost his position. His father lost several partnerships that had depended heavily on connections he'd been overestimating for years. The city is smaller than people think when your reputation starts moving in the wrong direction. I went back to my actual life, the work I'd been quietly involved in the whole time, the version of myself I'd put in a drawer, while I was busy hoping someone else would learn to see her. She was still there. She'd been there the whole time. I don't tell this story because I'm angry. I'm genuinely not. I tell it because I spent a year being called worthless by people who had no idea what I was worth. And I stayed quiet because I confused patience with strength. They're not the same thing. Walking away isn't losing. Sometimes it's the only move that actually means anything. If you've ever been in a room where people have already decided who you are before you've said a word, you already know what I mean. If you made it to the end, thank you. I mean that. Drop a comment and tell me. Would you have kept the secret? Or shown your hand from the beginning? Subscribe if you want more stories like this. I'll see you in the next one.